in Vietnam, which is not known to everybody. So these are the important qualification of this kind of blades that a person may own today. What you will own is not the cost of the blade or the knife, it is the cost of history. History has its own meaning because what is presented and brought out before to the people that are interested to own these blades as an archive or a replica. It is useful in any way and every way in your daily life. And what is worth is that when you buy this is significant because it represents the Filipino culture. So, to us who are the proponents of the Filipino culture, we urge you to own this because it will not be too long that we could provide you with this real fighting blades of the Philippines. There will come a time that there will be restrictions on the importation of this. And I don't know, when are we going to get this? So while it is available under the disposal of Kosakowski, the man that wants the adventure in going to the Philippines, and he wants to test how effective are the blades, in these coming years. And we invite him to do the testing because I think that's the only way to authenticate what you learn and what kind of blade do you carry. So the significant part of this blade is on how you're going to use it and how you're going to feel it after you use it. One of the significant fighting blades in the Philippines is the use of the karambit, which is in the Filipino language is called the lugod. In the Indonesian it's called the karambit. But the lugod, the Filipino lugod, is a little bit more slimmer in terms of the design, which is coming from the spars of the fighting rosters, which is tempered with certain ingredients that once it cut into the flesh, it will cause so much pain that it will even kill the fighting cocks before it bleeds a lot. So in the Filipino way, this is one of the most significant weapon that has been coming out, which technically, if you make a comparison of the Filipino culture, which was the Malay culture in the early days before the coming of the Spaniards, here alone is an indication that there is an existence of the Filipino culture, which was actually a Malay culture. This karambit is also signified in the Philippines in the form of lugod. Right. So when you use this in terms of reality in the modern warfare, then you use this as your means of support system. Because when you're going to shoot, then if somebody comes in, you can jab him. You can shoot him, you can jab him. You can slash him. If this misfire, then you can slash him and then be able to stop and then fire again. See? So it is significant that as far as the knife has its own partnership in terms of the firearms. So in combat, in reality, these close quarter knives are important to survive in terms of close quarter. What does this mean? This means in the real world of combat, when we talk about the culture is significant to understand that when you take hold of this type of a blade, this is not for sports, this is for realities. The things that is being collected here is important for you to understand. That is are not for sports. This is for combat and to meet the demands of time. So it is important that we understand this in terms of how it's useful is. And later on we're going to demonstrate how these things are being used in its proper way. Now, all these small knives have the same functions in terms of close quarter, because no matter how short or small the knife is, it can cut, it can injure, and it can get cut into the veins, it can cut to the throat, and it can puncture to the eyes. So significantly, the Filipino fighting system is designed for mobility, for functionability, and of course you have to be agile to make it more tactical in its movement. The whole components of the ancient blade of the modern times and the living past has an important role in terms of its reality, in terms of the real fighting and the real way of using as a culture of the early Filipinos and how it's being used to the present time. So if you're going to use this, be sure that you have the application and its right perspectives so that in the process of your collection, you can utilize this in case of emergency. That's how to survive in the modern days. This is a balisong, the most dramatic and the most safest knives in the world. Of all the fighters and knife makers in the world, only the Filipinos was able to invent this beautiful knife is called the balisong. The balisong has its own history. It is called balisong, meaning bali, meaning to bend, and song because it comes from the sungay of the Carabao, or the horn of the Carabao. And in the early days, during the time when the Filipinos doing their commercial travel to China, passing through the Moluccas and to the Silibris, they are always met by pirates on the sea. And what they did is to design a kind of blade that is formed as a comb, made of a Carabao horn, and it bends in this manner, which was not a steel, but it is from a Carabao horn. But when you open it up, it becomes a knife. That's why the Chinese call it balisong, because they cannot pronounce sungay, and they call it balisong. So in the early times, the Filipinos were able to make this into steel, and it is coming from a province called Batangas in the Philippines. So the most dramatic knife in the world, the safest knife in the world, is the balisong. So when we use this in terms of its applicability, it's the way how you're able to change from the principles of its uses, from this pakal possession, and be able to transfer it to each way how you're going to use it for sasa possession. Okay? So when we are going to use this, it's because the person is aggressive and he wants to kill it. But meantime, we close this until such time that there is a presence of assault or with an intent to kill. And that's the time that this balisong is open. So for all purposes, this balisong is the most significant blade in the world. And it is the safest because you can only open it when there is a necessity. And it is not like on the other blades that you can just open it without the protection of closing it. The balisong is one of the technology of the Kali culture, which is the true Filipino culture. So in terms of how it's being used, that depends on your judgment. But all this has to do with your training and has to do also with your objectives as a person of culture, character, and civilized way of getting into the people in terms of living in a good society. This is balisong. And there are Filipino system, we have different loading position. It's called the high load, shoulder load, medium load, down load. On high load, shoulder load, medium load, down load. Alright, and facing each other here, right? This will be our position here. Okay? Then you go to medium load, go to down load, back to shoulder load. High load, shoulder load, medium load, down load. So in terms of the movements, you have what we call the diagonal. So these blades are designed for diagonal strikes, diagonal attacks. There. Diagonal attacks or diagonal strikes are the most defensive and protective kind of movement. So in terms of training, in terms of the blade, you go around and get the proper angle. Get the proper angle. After you finish the diagonal strikes, then you go into lateral strikes, lateral attacks, lateral strikes. You go to reverse, diagonals, reverse diagonals. Then back to circular. Then it comes to the thrust. Thrust. There are two kinds of thrust. Low thrust and high thrust. Low thrust, and high trust.